right, what's up, you Relentless Warriors? Welcome back to Relentless Fit 365. We're going over some form movements that we did earlier today regarding the dumbbells. So it's 12 different moves. I'm going to give you reasons why we're doing certain things and why we would do adjustments if you're having problems. And then, of course, after I'm going over these moves, feel free to ask me any questions. You can ask them now. Line Club will take them down and we'll go over them afterwards. But hold off on your questions because perhaps I will be answering those questions as we're going through this. I'm going to pull this mic a little closer here. Is that better? All right. Okay, so the first one is the row. Now, there are several ways to do a row. This one in particular, I do this one a lot. I call it a hammer grip row, or you could call it a prone. Whatever it is, the idea is you want to keep your elbow tight to your side. So when you're doing this specific row, there's a couple of ways you can do it. I'll just go lightweight on this one. One of them that we have done before is basically called the lawnmower, where your palm is on your knee. We'll come down here and get a full stretch and we'll twist here. You could have done it that way today, but just understand when you're doing that little twist, that's also for your lower back, which is fine. But today I wanted to emphasize more on your upper back and the thickness of your lats. So you're coming down here. When you go lower, it really does lean things forward and you're working more of your upper back right there. So again, keeping the elbow above the back, and then you want to control. The real meat and potatoes of this particular exercise is the elbow going above the back. A lot of times in the gym, I'll see people doing this really fast, and they're missing the concept of what the row is all about. Right here, this squeeze, this contraction, that's what's activating. That's where all that tightness is. The longer you can do that and then control the downward, the more muscle fibers you're going to recruit and the better emphasis you're going to get on your back. That is the row. I don't believe you'll need me to show the left side, but it's common, but there's always mistakes done with the row, unfortunately. Okay, next one, donkey kick. This one, people have a tendency to, it gets really difficult for them in many ways to get the dumbbell right here on the pit of their knee, just like that. You can use anything. Now, sometimes that hurts people. I recommend perhaps putting a towel there. You can put it over the towel. I have like alligator skin, so it doesn't seem to bother I never really feel it. But in any emphasis, you want to make sure this is clamped. So you're basically taking your heel. A lot of times people will start to extend their leg, and then the dumbbell will drop, and they're wondering why that's happening. The beauty of the donkey is that you have to force that heel close to keep the dumbbell up. So you're working two things. You're keeping this tight. At the same time, you're lifting and then you're dropping. Now, you will see a full range of motion. Sometimes when we do this, we'll drop the knee all the way down, and then we'll come all the way up. But today, it was really about engagement of the hamstrings, the glutes, and the lower back. Those are the three that I want you to focus on when you're doing this. So it's just a 6 to 8 inch drop. So it keeps that constantly engaged. That's all it is. So that range of motion is a lot shorter. Dropping down, kicking up. And again, if you're struggling with the dumbbell, you can put the dumbbell down. Even if you do this with your body weight, you will feel this. Again, not like this. You could do it that way, but that's something different. I like to clamp here because now when you're contracting, that engages your hamstrings a lot more and your glutes as well. That's donkey kick. All right, we're going down to bridge press. This one is not as common of a move, so I want to spend some time on this one. Now, the importance of doing a bridge press on a single arm is balance as much as it is working different things with strength. So if you notice, the right leg is down, the left is up. I have that opposite, so let me switch this here. If the right leg is down, the left leg is up, you're pressing with your left, you're relaxing the right. So the idea is when you lift your hips, all that balance has to be on the right side, so you're forcing your core to activate. There's many different moving parts in this one. So your core has to activate, your hamstrings have to activate along with your glutes because I'm on my heel. I can relax my head, and then I'm just twisting and pressing. If you did this, you notice that the real movement is basically right here, just this isometric, or the real engagement, not movement. This isometric is really engaging. This twist is kind of like a byproduct, adding flavor to the rest of the exercise. Twist and press. So that's the movement there. The idea is try to keep the hips off the ground, but you should be feeling this, your chest, you should be feeling your shoulders, even your biceps, because when you're doing that twist, Again, it's the little things that make a difference. We're keeping things close. When you're doing that twist, that's activating differently than if you were to come outside like this and just do a regular press. All you have to do is feel. So when you come in closer, feel your bicep as you're contracting here in that prone position or hammer grip, and then press there. Now do it the opposite way. Come on the side, feel your chest on how different your chest feels when you're doing it this way. So different reasons why we're doing different movements. So there's that. Okay, the Ironman I think is pretty self-explanatory. If you struggle with the Ironman, let me know. The one emphasis that I want to correct people on before it even happens on the Ironman is the isometric. A very common mistake is this doesn't stay at the 90, or it's too far back right here, so your elbow is like this. You know, I don't know if you can see that, but you don't want it here, you want it up there, like that. That engages your bicep, and you don't want to drop. And I saw someone doing this in the gym the other day, which was like that. It's not doing anything. The idea is you want to keep that isometric so that engages. Just make sure you're doing that. And then, of course, on the other side, it's just a twist and curl. We've done many different variations. We've done hammer. I've even done reverse on this. So this one's just a standard curl and twist today. That's Ironman. Okay, next one, Wolverine kickbacks. This one's old school. People still struggle with it, though. And I want to talk about some things with these Wolverine kickbacks that I think most people probably overlook or maybe just take for granted that they're doing right. So without even using dumbbells at all, the idea of the Wolverine kickback is, again, there's more goodies involved in this than meets the eye. It's not just a tricep exercise. So with your left is in front, your right is in back, you want to take that waist, you want to drop all the way down, your chin is close to your knee. Now, I know a lot of people struggle with going as low, and I understand that you can go a little higher, but just make sure your chest doesn't have to go there. Then just bring your stomach. So long as your stomach comes down, you're still feeling that tension. If you're right here, it's a little different. But feel the difference here if you just drop down right there. You'll feel the glutes start to activate a little bit more. Let me show you on this side. So if I stay up like this, and not a big deal, but then suddenly I lean forward and I already now feel pressure here. So the lower you go, the more you're going to be able to engage, but it's not a huge deal. Now again, emphasizing elbows off the ground, and then of course the kickbacks. Now on this, understand your palms are facing the ceiling. I do that because it activates the inside of the tricep back here. Hard to reach, so when you go palms up, you are activating it more than you would if you were just doing like this. So kick back like that. That's the infamous Wolverine. Okay, hinge drop. Hinge drop, again, something I've been doing for a while. I won't even use dumbbells for this because it really is just about making sure the elbows are not dropping. If you're dropping your elbows, you're either doing too heavy of a weight, or you just need to focus on form a little bit more. So make sure, even on the drop, that you're not doing something like this. People tend to do that. Come up here, drop. A lot of times when you're dropping your front fist, you just want to emphasize lifting that back up more. When you lift, you're engaging your posterior delt. It's not this. Actually, I'll have to use dumbbells to show you this. Here's a common mistake. People will do this, and they'll come in front like that. That's wrong. Your elbows should be back like that. So you're coming up, dropping down like a hinge. So if you're coming forward like that, that's too much. And you're taking away the emphasis of this exercise, which is to engage the posterior delt. Very hard to reach spot. The hinge does a good job at targeting it and being able to activate it if you do it correctly. And then, of course, there's that iron cross from here. Iron cross, that's a very difficult one. We do it with thumbs up, basically. You could do it like this as well. I prefer this. It's easier on your elbows. I'm not a big fan of doing things like that, because people tend to extend their arms too much, and you can really hyperextend your elbow. It's one of the reasons I do it this way. Okay. What's the last one? Oh, we have Libra press. Kayakers were the actual last one with Russian twist. We don't Russian roll twist. We don't really have to show that one. The Libra press is a very difficult one. I broke this one up on purpose because of that. So many people struggle with the dumbbells. Basically keeping the dumbbells in between their feet and then coming here and being able to lift. You will feel this in your hip flexors. It's okay, don't freak out. If you're feeling it too much, just get rid of the dumbbell. You just want to lift your legs in, extend the left, and press with the right. The reason why you extend the left, it's a balance thing. That's why I call it a Libra press, balancing all the differences. You know, if you bring it in too much, it's going to throw you off. Here, it forces you to stabilize, but at the same time, you're engaging here. So that's the Libra press. I think technically it's not that difficult, but physically it's a real challenge, which is why I like it. It has many different flavors to it. So there you go, guys. Those are the moves that we did today. If you have any questions regarding those additional moves, we'll stick around now and we'll answer those questions. Line cup, what do we have?
I know you've been asked this before, but someone else asked again, and I want to ask before we go back up. Does it matter if your toes are pointed or flat on the donkey kicks?
Oh, okay. So there's a couple of ways to do that. The question was on the donkey kicks. I do it both ways. It's not going to make a huge difference when you're down here. I've done both. I've pointed toes out, and I've brought them in. It's not going to change too much. You might feel a slight difference in your adductor if you point your toe out as opposed to bringing it in, but I mean, I've heard different things. It really depends on the body. I tend to, if I feel my leg dropping or if I feel the dumbbell dropping, I tend to bring my toe up to force myself to clamp better. Otherwise, it's not a huge deal. The real emphasis I want you to focus on is making sure you keep the heel close to your glute. You know, that's the most important thing. All right. What else we got, Lion Cub?
Kate has a question on when you should change your running shoes.
Every day. I cycle 3. When I was doing a lot of mileage, I answered too quickly. I'm assuming you're running a lot, but it also depends on how often you're running. Did she emphasize that?
How often do you nix a pair? Like how soon should you nix a pair is her question.
Nix, like get rid of?
Yeah.
So it varies. You have to really look at the heel cushion. If you have a minimalist shoe, the actual rule is about 250 to 500 miles. Now, when I put a lot of mileage in, I would keep track of how many miles I would run on each shoe. If you don't do that, what you basically want to do is you want to look at the inside of your heel and the outside. If you start to lose, the moment you start to lose that tread, that's when you want to consider getting rid of them, because now it's taking away. If you're losing the tread, you're also loosening the cushioning. You're loosening the cushioning on the heel strike, and it could potentially start hurting your joints. What I was talking about as far as changing shoes, if you are an avid runner, you really should cycle. If you're doing it every day, you should cycle 3 pairs of shoes a week, because it takes at least a 24-hour period for that sponginess on that heel to recover. If you do it every day, it's just going to break it down too quickly, and you could potentially get injured. But to answer your question, instead of the mileage, probably a better gauge is where your tread is at, because it is going to vary depending on what type of shoe you have. The mileage is.
Nina has a question. Can you do the donkey kicks on your elbows?
Oh, yeah.
What does it work differently?
Okay, so that's a good question. When you go on your elbows, you're actually raising your butt and you're changing the way it is. It's a slight difference. All I would say is be careful if you're going that low. When you have a dumbbell, just make sure you have a good positioning on it. But yes, you are now engaging more of your glutes, hammies, upper part of your hamstring, and right there. It's okay, but just make sure you have a fantastic grip on the dumbbell, or do a body weight. But yeah, absolutely. That is another way you can, that's another form. I seldom do that, but I've seen it done before.
No further questions at this time, but we have a lot of people commenting on how much they love this tempo.
Oh,
And how
cool.
much they love the Libra presses.
Yes. A lot of Libras out there. I take it. I'm going to adjust this here. I'm going to bring this over here. We're going to do a little chat, and then we're out of here. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this tempo. Give me a second here. Adjusting with what we got there. Yeah, so on this, and I call it traditional because I've been doing it for probably 4 years now, maybe 5 at this point. This 60-20, 45-15, and 30-10, it has many different nuances that I enjoy, which is pretty similar to a lot of other workouts that I appreciate. But again, you're working some strength, but at the same time, you're hitting that tempo, which increases your heart rate, and it makes it really a flavorful workout. Now, I will say there's other directions you can go with this. What I used to do, and I consider doing this in the future, is on the 60-20, it would be light dumbbells. I did a 45-15, which would be heavier dumbbells, and on the 30-10, it wouldn't be dumbbells at all. And in fact, it would be 10 or 12 different new moves that would be body weight hit. So you could close out in many different ways. We will be teasing out some of those other things that I used to do in the past. So I'm glad you like it, but there's also other directions we can take this. So it could be really fun in the future. So glad you like it. Cool. Okay, guys. So that is fantastic. I want to make a few corrections as we are looking at the platform on where we're going to go with this website and pushing forward with YouTube. I want to make some slight corrections. Originally, I was going to have all the form go on YouTube public. We've talked about that, and I've changed my mind on that. And it's not because I don't want to give it to YouTube. We just don't think it's going to be the best for where we want to take our channel. So it will still be, obviously, we're still going to be posting. It was always going to be going on the website, but it was going to be public. It's no longer going to be public. Afterwards, Rich will go back, and he might release maybe one a week. That he'll edit, but it won't be a live discussion base. It'll be just something that they can leave comments on. So I just wanted to correct, some of my statements on that, where it was next week everything was going to be live on YouTube public. That's not going to be the case anymore. We're still kind of doctoring the direction that we plan on going for YouTube. We have to make good decisions here, because some things I've learned about YouTube and what they're doing, and the reason why I think fitness, and this is just a theory, but I feel like fitness has taken a hit because of bodybuilding, and in specifically because of steroid usage, and which is unfortunate. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but it is a theory. And I have noticed that the fitness community and everybody's channel while subs have gone up, views have gone down. And I don't know what's going on with that, but I venture to guess some of that has to do with the steroid usage and steroid promoting and things of that nature and that type of talk. And while I disagree with steroids, I also disagree with the methods that are being done, because now you're punishing the entire fitness community. You cannot couple something like steroids with fitness. It just doesn't make sense. But that's just been the broken algorithm that YouTube has been facing these last several years. So that being said, to make a long story short, YouTube is still under a microscope for us about how we're going to use it. We still want to make sure the platform gets a lot of goodies, but we want to make sure we do it the right way. So, and so long as nobody has anything else.
The longest body weight combination is tomorrow, correct?
That is correct.
And Anna was wondering if she should skip it.
With isometrics, it really does depend. You will be hitting your hamstring. I don't think I would recommend it. I don't know what your pain level is at right now. You certainly want to keep resting it, and you definitely want to make sure it recovers before you do that constant tension. If it were just a knot, if it were something that you were just trying to work out and it was tightness, that's different. But it sounded like it was a pull, and I would not recommend something like this. Those of you who are not familiar with the longest body weight combination, it's something that has been a growing process. I think it started off, it was like a 15-minute combination move. Then it would turn to like 20. I think the last time it was like 28 minutes or something. This one's a little bit, I add a little bit more and more each time. But, you know, it is a nice all-around body weight workout. At the same time, if you're dealing with aches and pains, it is not the best exercise for you. So, good question.
Kate asks, if you had to do only one type of workout for the rest of your life, what would it be?
That's easy. Bodybuilding. You know, I hate to say it like bodybuilding as if I'm going to compete, but the reason why I say it that way is I feel like there's a huge benefit to doing isolated strength training and all-around body weight, and all-around functional training with dumbbells. So I would couple, let me extend what I said with just strength training in general, but it would be reps, it would be sets, it would be hypertrophy, because I know that there's a way you can still get your heart rate and work your heart rate even at the age of 85, 86, and still stay healthy. It's fun to jump, it's fun to kick, it's fun to roll, it's fun to do all that stuff. How sustainable it is when you're in your 80s, I don't know, but what I do know is, and I think that depends on the person, but what I do know is all of my clients that were in their 70s and 80s were able to do some sort of like hypertrophy workout bodybuilding stuff. So I do think it's the best for long term. I also think it's the best for muscle building and heart rate training. So that's just, you know, it's sustained the test of time. It's been around the longest, and people continue, including doctors, continue to go back to it and say you should be doing some sort of strength training. It protects your joints. Not only does it protect your joints, it helps burn body fat. You're not going to get that from cardio. Cardio has its benefits, but I think it's I think people are hard pressed to think cardio is going to be better for you in the long run, especially with your joints.
And Melita has a comment and question.
Yes.
Her and her husband would do supersets for Ultimate when they were training, and she really likes the change in tempo and weight because they never did that before.
Yeah,
so
awesome stuff. Thank you.
Excited to show him this later.
Cool.
And then there was a little confusion that on what you were just talking about. Will there be live workouts next week?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Let me yeah, let me address, nothing's changing on this platform. What I mentioned about, I think it was the other day and maybe even yesterday, that I was gonna, the form, I'm turning this into more of a forum discussion, and then if you have questions afterwards, but I was gonna start offering the form publicly to YouTube because I thought it was gonna be beneficial, and nobody seemed to have a problem with that on this platform. I've changed my mind on that. I'm gonna continue doing form. Live workouts are staying the same. We're doing them 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday on this platform. None of that's changing. The only thing that I've changed my mind with is what I'm going to offer publicly on YouTube. So, yeah, thank you for asking me that because I didn't know there was some confusion there. So, yes, nothing will change on this platform. We're only going to make improvements as we go, but, yeah, we're good where we're at. I hope that answered your question.
Ninja asks how long tomorrow will be.
Tomorrow's workout is just over 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes. It's shorter than most. We're going to spend some time on foam rolling, and it's probably, as I'm looking at it, it's probably one of the shorter ones this week. You know, yesterday was just about 55 minutes. Today, I think I had it scheduled for about 45 minutes. I think we stayed within that time. Now, I'm obviously excluding the warm up and the stretch. I'm talking about the guts of the workout. Tomorrow's workout's just over 30 minutes. It is the longest combination one. If you plan on doing the warm up to the cool down to the stretching, you're probably looking about 45 minutes, I think, tops. I think I had it scheduled out of here by 7:15. I didn't put that correctly on the internet, but I should go back and change that.
Kate asks if bodybuilding also helps bone density as well, correct?
Yeah. Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
Kate said bodybuilding helps bone density as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not only that, I think it's also better for blood flow. You know, people, like cardio does good to move around. It gets things going. I'm not against cardio. I'm certainly not against HIIT. We do that. The question was for long term. I see myself, if I happen to live later in my years at 70s and 80s, I can see myself bodybuilding the rest of my life, bodybuilding style. I cannot see myself hopping around like a goofball. I'll still be a goofball, but I won't be hopping. And I don't think that's sustainable for long periods of time, not even for young people. I feel like people are going to always have to go back to bodybuilding. There's also a reason why when you're recovering from things, people go back to balance, they go back to the basics, they go back to muscle correction, and they go back to form correction. Bodybuilding has a point of that where it's when you take it to the next level. Now it's like it's not correction anymore. Now it's strengthening, and the ability to strengthen your muscles. And I appreciate you bringing that up. The bone density is the best for you at specific ages of your life. And I can only go back to, I have a lot of examples, but I always go back to my uncle who's 87, I think now, 88, and he bodybuilds every day. And he's old school stuff. He still pumps iron. He'll hit machines. He'll read something in a magazine. He's like, "Hey Jake, did you check this out?" And he'll show me something new, and he'll bring back old school stuff. It's always fun to see somebody at that age continuing to press through things. And quite frankly, people look at him and they think he's in his 60s. And a lot of that he attributes to his weight training.
Julie has a question. How do you keep track of all your moves? Do you have a journal or a log of some sort, or are they all in your head?
That's a very good question. I used to have a journal. I consider what I do on YouTube now a video journal because I go back. I do have so many that a lot of times I have to go back and look at them on video to see if I've been missing some things. In the past, in the very beginning, I had every workout I used to give clients and all the workouts that I used to specifically do. I don't keep track of that anymore, but I do have, there's probably dozens and dozens of bodyweight moves, dozens and dozens of dumbbells, and we're probably getting into the hundreds at some point. Yeah.
And sometimes we'll bring something up and have to remind you of it. Because you forget that you made a move.
Yeah, there are some moves out there that probably used to be really good, and I can get into a rut too, and I'll forget that move was so creative, and not creative in the sense that I created it, but it was something that I learned in the process of learning in fitness. And sometimes you just overlook stuff. I went back to. It's funny you do bring that up because last week I went back to some of my original workout routines that I used to give clients in the gym. And I'm going to start going back to some of the basic lunge stuff and dumbbell things that I used to do that I've gotten away from, because sometimes fancy's cool and it's fun, but sometimes when you bring back some of the nostalgia of what working out is, it's a new move in some ways because people aren't used to seeing it anymore. So yeah, I always appreciate when a client tells me they like something, especially when they go back to like some of my earlier workouts on video that are in the hundreds and 200s. And they're like, "Hey, this move was great. You should do it again." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." Drawbridges was one of them, and I brought that back yesterday.
Emelita wants to know what is considered bodybuilding.
Yeah. Okay. So bodybuilding for the most part is what you would consider hypertrophy training, or it's the slower reps. Not as much time under tension as it would be like here's the most basic, the flex and the stretch. So the very most basic form of what a bodybuilding would be, like a curl, that would be the flex, that would be the stretch. Pressing, the flex and the stretch. It's usually very compound strict movements that are isolating certain muscle groups. I hope I'm not making that sound too confusing. For the most part, though, it's on reps, it's on sets, and even supersets. But at the same time, the goal is to muscle build in tone. And I used to refrain, but I have an educated group now in the audience. I used to refrain from saying bodybuilding because people would think, "Oh, I don't want to get big muscles." But what people have learned is that your genetics will take your build wherever it's supposed to go. You would literally have to work hard and change your calories and perhaps go synthetically or take drugs to get really big the way you see some of these other bodybuilders that I have no intention of going towards. So when I say bodybuilding, I'm talking specifically that. I guess a couple weeks ago when we did those isolations of chest, and then we went to biceps, and then we went to back and tris, that's basically bodybuilding in a nutshell.
How different is it from strength training?
Okay, so they're one and the same, but there are some differences. If you're comparing a sport of bodybuilding, and I don't want that to get misrepresented, because when I say bodybuilding, I'm not talking about somebody going on stage and posing. I'm talking about just a concept of what it does. Strength training is literally just that. How do I get stronger? How do I get my muscles to grow? How do I get my muscles to sustain more weight? How do I get my body weight to sustain more? Theoretically, you could do strength training without dumbbells at all. You could do strength training with just body weight. And what we did technically is some sort of tempo, but it's still strength training. We're using dumbbells. We're going slower motion. We're hitting reps. We are still flexing, and we're still contracting and stretching. So it's the building of strength, whereas bodybuilding is in its specific form to build more muscle, to build bigger muscle. So, but don't let that scare you. It's the concept of doing reps and sets that I like, and that you can still make and change the tempo. So only slight differences. A bodybuilder will tell you they don't care about strength. They only care about looks. Somebody in strength training, I would basically attribute to maybe an athlete or somebody in powerlifting. They're two different things, but they're looking to build more ability, more performance. And I like to combine the two together, where it's like, how do you get stronger without changing your aesthetics, or changing your aesthetics in such a way that you like how you look even better? So it's the best of both worlds, looking sexy and also being able to, back it up. Kind of like a Ferrari with a Ferrari engine, as opposed to being a Ferrari body in a Honda engine. No offense to Honda, but it's no Ferrari. I hope that answered your question. There are slight differences. A bodybuilder would probably disagree with how overgeneralized I got with it, but the concept is still there.
Paprika is keeping track of all your moves.
Yes, she actually is. If you're talking about the last, 3 or 4 months, Paprika literally writes them all down. So she's got a journal of everything that I've done. If I've missed it, she'll remind me, and she's done a fantastic job. That is actually how I used to do it. If I did a workout, I kept my own workout journals. And then those journals turned into things in programs, which turned into things with other clients. And I mean, if we go back, we could go back almost 20 years of stuff that I have that I learned in the past. But yeah, Paprika's taken over on that. All right, sounds good, guys. I appreciate your questions, and thanks for joining in, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. So once again, tomorrow, hump day, we are doing the world's longest body weight combination move, and it's a blast. Expect some of the things that we did. We're going to start off the same way, but it's going to, like always, add some sort of new change up to it that makes it a little bit longer and more challenging. Now, the idea is, the reason why I have the hot lava around there, if you looked at the thumbnail, is like, it's...
The floor is lava. Don't go down.
Yeah, don't fall into the lava is the idea. So there are going to be some balance moves. You guys who've done it are familiar with that. So the idea is to try to keep all the pressure on the right, keep all the pressure on the left, and then we get into some push-up stuff and some low plank stuff. It's a blast. It's a challenge, but it's fun. That's all I have. And thanks for joining in once again. Looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. And thanks for watching. Always remember, eat healthy, train hard, most especially have fun. I'm Relentless Jake. You remember, stay focused, stay dedicated, and I will see your beautiful faces tomorrow. And I'm out. Bam!